Hi class, in this video we're going to go over our field experience C, implementing formative assessment. For this field experience, you wanted to allocate at least 4 hours. And as you are doing this field experience, there's going to be a couple of parts. So you have part 1 and part 2. So in part 1, we start looking at a mini lesson plan. So you want to ask your mentor or teacher if you can implement a mini lesson, and you can select a standard that either is being currently used in the class or is upcoming for the class. So you will create a mini lesson using the mini lesson plan template over here on the right. And you're going to include a description of a learning activity, instructional strategy, and some pre-informative assessment questions. So let's take a quick look at that template. And so you'll identify your class, which subject or grade level. You're going to identify the standard you're teaching. And from that standard, you're going to identify what the objective of your mini lesson will be. We know standards can sometimes be very bulky and more long-term goals, but what will the goal or the smaller part of that standard be that you're teaching for this mini lesson? Then you're going to want to describe your learning activity that you plan on doing that is aligned with your standard and objective. So it could be as simple as a writing task, a quick science experiment, it could be a quick math demonstration, or a quick strategy teach with math. And then you're going to want to share what instructional strategy you're using. So we are learning about those instructional strategies here in week 3. And so it could be a cooperative learning strategy where the students are working together. It could be another strategy such as using a graphic organizer, such as a Venn diagram, if they're comparing and contrasting, or using manipulatives to help them understand the mathematics. Then you'll develop 2 pre-assessment questions to assess their prior knowledge. So right when you begin that lesson, you can ask these 2 questions, and then 2 formative assessment to see their progress after your lesson. So for example, if I was doing single-digit multiplication, and I was introducing that to students, that would be a 3rd grade math standard. And I might just want students to have the objective of being able to make equal groups to find products of numbers. And I'm going to have my learning activity might be that we're going to use whiteboard markers and we're going to make equal groups with our markers, and then we'll have students build equations using dice. And then they will use the manipulatives to build the equations and solve how much it is. My instructional strategy would be something that's actually incorporated possibly in that learning activity. The strategy might be using manipulatives, or it might be working in partners of some sort for cooperative grouping. Then my pre-assessment questions could be something like, what is multiplication? Or when do we make or use or count things in equal groups? And then my formative assessment questions are going to see their progress towards this objective. So I might give them as simple as, what does 3 times 5 mean? And it would be, I'd be looking for 3 groups of 5. And then it could be like, what is the product of 3 times 5? And that could be my 2 questions. So this is along the way, and then how are you going to assess their understanding at the end? So this would be the actual assessment, where these are the questions. This is the assessment, and you will go ahead and write in whatever that assessment is. Could be exit ticket, 2 questions on multiplication, and maybe I write those equations down. So that's part 1. And you'll want to try to administer that mini lesson in the class, either as a whole group or small group. And then part 2 will be that reflection. And so for your flexion, you're going to analyze any data you gained through these formative assessments on the that you did during your lesson. And then you're going to start thinking about these questions. So how did you collect and organize your data? You're going to discuss how you would use data to inform future instruction on the same topic. Why is this continuous formative assessment important for student learning? So why do we keep assessing students all the time? Why are we always seeing if they met our objective? And then how does your learning activity assessment align to your learning objectives? So be specific. So if mine was about single digit multiplication and making equal groups, I can be very specific on notice how they had to make equal groups when they were drawing with their whiteboard markers and using the manipulatives. Then on their assessment, they could use equal groups to solve and find the products. So be specific when you're talking about that alignment. Make sure that you support your findings with 2 scholarly sources, which means if they're on the reference page, you should have a citation within the body where that reference was used. As always, make sure you view your rubric before submitting. And as you can see, the lesson plan and instructional strategy that you choose on that lesson plan is the bulk of the points in the assignment. And then you have your assessments on the mini lesson plan, and then your reflection. And then as always, make sure you include your future practice. How does this apply to your future practice, and what will you do as a teacher in the future? All right, if you have any questions about this assignment, don't hesitate to reach out.